Ladies and gentlemen, we are at a state of panic. No, let me correct that again. The president is in a state of panic. Now, he asked us last week to wear yellow to show support so that the Supreme Court can see where the people are going, who and what they believe and who they support. Now, I came on in this show wearing a yellow ribbon, however wearing black. I think it is time to shed my colors, my true colors. And I'm taking off the ribbon. At this point, we will discuss some more of the DAP, but this time with no longer any yellows. Attorney Luna, ito ba kaya ng Supreme Court talaga in spite of everybody? The President is using all the, alam mo naman ang lakas ng PR machine ng Malacanang. At sinasabi nila sa taong bayan na all of us agree with him and his basic rule. Kaya niya ba to sway public opinion to say you think, regardless that him knowing, alam niya na mali yung ginagawa niya, alam niya mali, binabanatan niya Supreme Court, ang Kongreso binabanatan ng Supreme Court, but in spite of that, even with television on their side, hindi nila kaya, no?
Yes. About 2 days ago, I had a talk with a tricycle driver, and I was so surprised that he's really abreast with political developments, especially the issue on the DAP. And I asked him, what do you know about the DAP? He said, this DAP is responsible for the sufferings of our people, to include himself. Because he said, we did not feel any economic
kaya hindi bumaba nga sa grassroots.
Yes, there's no inclusive growth. And he said that those responsible for the DAP should be prosecuted because they have betrayed the people's trust.
How long will it take, Attorney, for the DAP and those who are guilty to be made accountable? Because at this point, baliktad, lumalaban sila, lumalaban ng Presidente, the whole executive, lumalaban ng mga spokesperson niya. Maski Kongreso, with their legislative powers, binibira ngayon ng ano. I mean, how long do you think it will take? What are the steps that you think will happen next?
What I know is that the Ombudsman, after receiving a copy or perhaps knowing about the promulgation of this DAP decision, organize or form a panel of Ombudsman investigators.
Kailangan gawin nila yan.
They have already formed a panel to investigate or to do a case build-up on the DAP, purposely to possibly find accountability on some people.
Kaya ba nila harapin yung Presidente?
Of course.
Ang Presidente naglagay kay Carpio Morales eh.
The Office of the Ombudsman is higher than the one sitting on that office. It is an office
independent,
institutionalized in our political system. It is an office recognized no less than by the Constitution.
So Carpio Morales, if she does right, can come out the real hero here.
Yes,
if she does right.
Yes, I believe so. She will come out right because as a former justice of the
former justice
a
of the Supreme
well-respected
Court,
justice of the Supreme Court, she will not shame the institution where she came from. And I believe in the integrity of our Ombudsman.
Buti ka pa, you believe in that. Because it seems tinulugan niya, ang daming kaso eh.
Well, in the case of the PDAP, what I know is that the DOJ also sat on the filing of the third and other batches of cases in the PDAP.
Until now, inuupuan pa rin yung third batch, di ba? Wala pa.
But I think the COA will have to coordinate in its effort to find out accountability.
So the Ombudsman, sasabihin niya yung COA, will direct the COA to come up with those findings.
With an audit report perhaps, and some notices of disallowances, so that the Ombudsman will have something to hold on as basis for continuing with the investigation or possibly to charge some.
She has to do this and she cannot use time, the time element, or what we call procrastination our judiciary is known for. Can she actually sit on this for 10 years?
I think she will not delay this because, as you can see, we are in a state of crisis because the people want those responsible to be held accountable.
How do we know this? With the ratings of the President dropping.
Yes, with the
That's
ratings
one.
dropping.
Which is already dropping. it was reported before he spoke,
Yes.
at 25% na lang yung Friday
And-
ngayon,
and
Friday before. At bumagsak pa sigurado
Yes,
after that.
That's correct. Plus interviews with the common people, common folks, who have been, including the OFWs, have been saying that the president should be held to account for the DAP. And also, we also hear some members of the media who have been very critical of the president.
Well, I
lately.
hear it, yes, I hear a lot of it, except
Yes.
for the main channels,
Yes,
no?
but majority of the columnists and reporters have been very critical of the president because, to me, DAP is a monstrosity. It's something that cannot be justified. It's something that, well, good faith would not hold water.
Talagang hindi pwede.
Hindi pwede because there's a serious violation of the separation of powers. That's the main basis of the decision of the Supreme Court, declaring cross-border transfers as
cross-border
unconstitutional, that the savings
Even I knew that.
generated
Even I knew that. I
Yes.
didn't go to school.
violated the Constitution and the General Appropriations Act, and that the use of the unprogrammed fund was not justified because we did not meet the targets, revenue targets, and yet they touched the unprogrammed funds. It boils down to a violation of the separation of powers between the President
And the legislative.
and the legislature.
Pero bakit ang legislature, pumayag sila na binaboy yung mga appropriations nila, mga budget concerns
That's the
nila?
problem. In my petition, I seriously and strongly argued that the legislature should have stood its ground.
Yes, di ba? Yun dapat,
Yes.
bilanggana dapat
But
ng presidente.
unfortunately, they were cowed into silence by something. And later we learned that there were releases,
Because of the DAP.
yes, to the members of Congress. So that explains their silence.
Nabili lahat sila.
Yes, they were not aggressive. Some said that they will conduct investigations on the DAP, but
Which never happened.
it never happened. In the case of Senator Escudero, he just sat on
did
the
nothing.
resolution of Senator J.B. Ejercito for the investigation to proceed. And,
Tinulugan niya.
and lately, he also canceled the appearance of Secretary Abad
Oo, nga, sa Senado.
before the senators.
That's just recently, just the other day.
Yes.
Kinansel niya. Hindi na kailangan humarap daw.
Well, Senator Escudero, according to the DBM documents and interviews of on Secretary Abad, receive about 98 million from
That's
the DAP.
right, from the
DAP.
DAP. Kaya ba nila tulugan uli yan? Gaya ng senador, mga committee hearings nila, they have to investigate. We've already seen Escudero, tinulugan niya na. We've already seen the DOJ, tinulugan niya rin yung kaso. We have seen Congress, particularly the different subcommittees and committees, tinulug. Can they continue to do this, to procrastinate, so that those who are guilty will not be found and convicted?
Continue on that path, and the people will have the justification to launch a revolution.
You are so confident.
Yes, if these two institutions will continue to conspire in violation of the Constitution, there's no other recourse for the people.
That's true. But do the people understand? Hindi kaya the tyranny of the massa is going to be our real problem?
Well, we had previous experiences on this, and I think the people can be informed, can become well informed of the issues. And
Pag
can
ikaw ang
decide.
presidente, ano dapat ginawa niya na o dapat gawin niya na ngayon?
Sorry na lang sana ako. Kung ako
Yun ang
president.
sinasabi ng marami.
Yes, apologize.
Umarap ka na sa
Yes.
Korte Suprema.
Do not insist that you are right, because the executive has no monopoly, has no final authority to interpret the laws and the Constitution, because that power is lodged in the Supreme Court.
Hindi kaya may kinukulang sa presidente na ganito nga. Kasi this is so immature. No one could believe the position he's taken.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable, di ba?
Yes.
Doesn't it show proof this boy is a special person, a special boy?
I really don't know, but from what I have observed recently, he had been committing so many blunders.
Oo nga. And his stubbornness to maintain the blunders without apologizing and making another blunder.
Yes. I remember when President FBR was still our incumbent president, he also attacked the Supreme Court because of the decision in the Manila Hotel case.
Yung Filipino first.
But compared to our incumbent president now, FBR was still much more courteous of the Supreme Court in his speech. He did not go down to the level of the dogs and attack the Supreme Court. He still maintained respect for the Supreme Court. That's why I said what the President did was unprecedented.
Literally.
Yes, literally.
And he's digging his grave at the rate he's going.
Well, it's a,
Pabilis ng pabilis.
it's a political suicide if he continues in that direction.
Hindi, parang baliktad ngayon, parang lumalabas. Pinalabas nila, maraming ibang kailangan intindihin. Like now, Grace Po versus Mar Rojas. Si Grace Po mas mataas, 70%. We already knew Mar was gonna suffer this after Yolanda. And now, Pangilinan is the favored. Ba, magagalit si Drilon. Gusto ni Drilon maging vice president. Parang all of a sudden, 2016 election ang pinag-uusapan. Sabi ko, alam mo, hindi pa kayo tapos sa DAP. Wala pa tayo napipreso dyan. Di ba tama?
I think we should learn from our mistakes. We should elect the right people. And I think that group does not have the staff to run this country well. So
Yeah.
in
Well,
26
there's obviously poor country management.
let's be more selective and more matured in our selection for the presidency so that we will be able to avert similar instances in the future.
The president cannot get away with this. No matter if he can finish his term, it will still hound him, correct?
It will hound him.
In fact, miski bumaba siya, he becomes even more vulnerable to the DAP, correct? Tuloy-tuloy pa rin yan, ano?
And he loses
Miski mga
his
senado.
immunity. He loses his immunity.
Even the senators, they lose it all. Pag bumaba na sila, all the more hahabulin pa sila because
Yeah.
the case will continue, correct?
He is really seriously injured so far as his political career and credibility are concerned.
Criminally still liable in spite of time. Let's suppose umabot na siya, tinapos niya na presidency niya. Hahabulin pa rin siya
Of
pag
course.
hindi pa tapos.
Well, right now he enjoys immunity and therefore he cannot be prosecuted. But just like Nixon,
Inantay.
whom the American public labeled as an unindicted defendant,
Oo, no?
he can also be called that.
Which is why he resigned. But Nixon did the right thing and let go.
Yes, he resigned, but though he was not charged when he was still president because of his immunity, the general public of the United States viewed him as an unindicted defendant and therefore reducing his stature to the level of ordinary criminals.
This you believe will happen to Noy Noy?
Well, if the people will not be satisfied with what they are doing now, because the people wants accountability, that will happen.
Sabagay.
That might happen.
Attorney, we're at the end of the program. What message would you like to give our viewers concerning the DAP, the illegality, where it is going after the discussion of how it should proceed, where it's going to go? What message would you like to give them?
I think that the public, that the people, this country should be more engaged in political developments, political issues, especially this on the DAP, because our future depends on political decisions and whatever blunders that our leaders would commit, that will have a positive or a negative implications on our lives. So, being the highest political sovereign in the Philippine state, our people, the masa, the middle class, and all others should continue watching and engaging in this issue and eventually decide what should be for the country, what should be best for the country.
Thank you very much, Attorney. Ladies and gentlemen, the management of the country is in disarray. As I said when we started the show, our prices on products and consumer products are definitely going to increase. Very simply, there is restriction on our ports to deliver these products. This is physically held down by mismanagement. What else can it be? Then you've got electric power. Our power, we are now suffering a heavy shortage in Metro Manila alone. Can you imagine industry, how this is affected? Last week, we experienced 6-hour brownouts. Don't be fooled. It wasn't about Glenda. It was because there was no power. This week, we are suffering 3 weeks. And this is no longer summer where you have the beating sun just driving up the power. No, you have less utility use. And in spite of this, there is not enough power. Now, you be the judge. A couple of weeks ago, we suffered what we call 450 peso per kilo bawang na bulok. Prices of ginger started to climb. Let's forget rice. It's becoming unaffordable. Is this how we want to end the year the year with the ASEAN integration coming to play by January? Is this how we want or expect or agree that all prices and our consumerism go to bust? You be the judge. You know, it's not necessarily about politics, although the management of our politics is likewise in total disarray. We need competence. We need leadership. And you know, the real honest part of that is if only integrity can play that major role together with competence management, baka lang sakali. You be the judge, but the more you keep quiet and the more you do nothing, the more you are the part of the problem. Maraming salamat po. Thank you very much, Attorney. You are what you watch.